Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon. Kevin Costner has many classic Western movies, but it's not the genre he's best at. Kevin Costner is seen as one of the modern icons of the Western genre for good reason. But his work in another genre is even more extensive and impressive. Costner's various Western movies have been a big part of his career, and it is hard not to associate him with the genre these days, thanks to his beloved role as John Dutton in the hit neo-Western series Yellowstone, as well as his ambitious multi-movie project, Horizon, an American Saga. His time in Western movies goes back long before that, with some of the most acclaimed movies in Costner's career. It makes sense that Kevin Costner might be more associated with the Western genre than the sports genre, as Westerns have been a big part of building his legacy in Hollywood. Following some early smaller parts, Costner got his breakout role in the fun Western ensemble Silverado, stealing scenes from the likes of Kevin Kline and Danny Glover as the fun-loving gunslinger, Jake. It was that movie and Costner's terrific performance that led to him finding big starring roles in The Untouchables and No Way Out. However, it was Costner's next Western movie that really cemented him as an A-lister in Hollywood. Dances with Wolves is based on the novel of the same name by Michael Blake, follows a Union officer in the American Civil War who forms a bond with the Sioux community in the land he is overseeing. Along with starring in Dances with Wolves, Costner made his directorial debut with the Western epic, which led to him winning the Oscar for Best Picture and Best Director. Westerns have also been a way of Costner reminding audiences of his A-list powers. Following a string of disappointing movies that somewhat knocked him out of the Hollywood top tier, Costner directed the hugely entertaining Western Open Range, serving as a comeback for the actor. Likewise, his role as John Dutton in Yellowstone gave another career resurgence to the actor, which allowed him to make his passion project, Horizon, an American Saga. Indeed, these Westerns have played a big role in shaping Costner's career from its beginning until now. While Kevin Costner's Western movies have some true classics and highly acclaimed movies, none of them are really in the conversation as the best Western movie of all time. However, he may have achieved such a feat in the sports genre with the brilliant Bull Durham. Costner plays baseball player Crash Davis, an experienced catcher nearing the end of his career in the minor leagues who is assigned to mentor a talented but naive pitcher, Tim Robbins, as they both find themselves competing for the same woman, Susan Sarandon. Bull Durham does what many sports movies are afraid to do, and that is blend different genres. It is a romantic comedy set in the world of minor league baseball. However, that is such a richly realized world that it makes for a perfect backdrop for these relationships. Baseball is not just how these characters come together, but it is the most important thing in their respective lives, and the movie explores how it means something different to each of them. While there have been many baseball movies over the years, Bull Durham does the best job of showing the romance of the sport and why people fall in love with it. It might surprise some Kevin Costner fans that the actor has starred in more sports movies than Westerns at this point in his career. This goes back to the early days of his acting, even before his breakout role in Silverado. One of Costner's first major films was in the forgettable baseball movie Chasing Dreams, which was followed by the cycling coming-of-age story American Flyers. Following his leading man roles in The Untouchables and No Way Out, Costner further cemented his status as a big-name star with winning performances in Bull Durham and Field of Dreams. The mid-90s saw some career stumbles in both of Costner's go-to genres, with Wyatt Earp and For Love of the Game failing to connect with audiences, but the golf rom-com Tin Cup continues to be seen as an underrated gem. Costner continued with his more mature sports movie roles later in his career, with Draft Day and McFarland, USA. To date, Costner has starred in 8 sports movies and 6 Westerns, including the neo-Western Let Him Go. However, Costner could see this record even out if he is able to go through with his plans to make 3 more movies in the Horizon franchise. It is certainly hard to compare the work Kevin Costner has done in Western movies and sports movies, but in the end, the sports genre is where he has been the most impressive. This comes down to the simple fact that while Costner has made some great Westerns, he also made 2 of the greatest sports movies of all time with Bull Durham and Field of Dreams. Though Dances with Wolves earned more accolades, it has not had the lasting impact of these 2 sports movies, which have aged wonderfully and are still beloved decades later. Along with these 2 movies being iconic, they also show the versatility of Costner's work in sports films. Bull Durham and Field of Dreams were back-to-back baseball movies. However, it in no way feels like Costner is repeating himself, as they are remarkably different projects. Bull Durham is a funny and charming rom-com, whereas Field of Dreams is a magical and uplifting story about fathers and sons. Costner has also delivered some of the best performances of his career in these movies. Crash Davis in Bull Durham is perhaps the best character of Costner's career, as the actor brings out the charm and humor in the rom-com's leading man, but also plays him with vulnerability as this man who has loved baseball for so long begins to see he can no longer play. Field of Dreams' wild fantasy story is grounded by Costner's performance, as this man driven by some force he doesn't understand, but is determined to see it through. Costner is great in Western movies, but he typically plays the stoic hero each time, save for his more comedic performance in Silverado. The sports genre has given him more range as an actor throughout his entire career, playing real characters rather than larger-than-life heroes. Field of Dreams and Bull Durham are especially great reminders of why Costner is one of the most popular actors in Hollywood. Kevin Costner is practically synonymous with the modern Western. With his rugged charm, stoic demeanor, and weather-worn features, he looks like he was born to wear a cowboy hat and saddle up at dawn. From Dances with Wolves to Open Range to the sprawling frontier drama of Yellowstone, Costner has cemented himself as a Western icon. But despite his strong association with the genre, the truth is a little more complicated. Westerns may be what he's best known for, but they're not what he's best at. When you look closer at his body of work, it becomes clear that Costner's real magic lies in another genre entirely: stories of heartfelt Americana, underdog resilience, and the complicated grace of flawed heroes. In short, Kevin Costner's true strength is in the drama of the everyman. A Western legacy forged in dust and glory. Let's give credit where it's due. Costner has created some of the most enduring modern Westerns. Dances with Wolves, 1990, his sweeping directorial debut, won 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director. That film redefined the Western with its sympathetic portrayal of Native American culture and haunting visual landscapes. He followed it with films like Wyatt Earp, Silverado, and Open Range, each steeped in classic Western tropes: lawmen, outlaws, the battle between civilization and wilderness. His current role as John Dutton in Yellowstone has brought Western storytelling to a whole new generation. It's gritty, stylish, and soaked in blood, cattle, and family drama. But for all his success in the West, Costner's Westerns often feel like love letters to a genre he admires, rather than natural outpourings of his best talents. They're visually stunning and thematically rich, but at times they carry the weight of mythology more than the breath of real, lived-in humanity. Where Costner truly shines is when he plays a man out of time, caught between obligation and emotion, between hope and heartbreak, not just on the frontier, but on the baseball field, in the courtroom, or behind a badge in Middle America. America's conscience in a ball cap. If you really want to find the soul of Kevin Costner's acting, head to a baseball diamond. In Field of Dreams, 1989, he played Ray Kinsella, a soft-spoken Iowa farmer who hears a mysterious voice urging him to build a baseball field in his cornfield. That premise could have been silly or sentimental in the hands of someone else. But Costner, with his quiet conviction and raw sincerity, made it one of the most poignant and enduring stories of Americana ever put to screen. There's no shootouts or stampedes, just the slow burn of a man confronting his past and embracing faith in the unseen. In Bull Durham and For Love of the Game, Costner again found his sweet spot, playing men who aren't legends, but who are trying to reconcile who they are with who they hope to be. His voice, low, gravelly, always a little unsure, feels most at home narrating internal conflict, not external violence. Baseball just happens to be the canvas.